Welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at the Go Fast Camper and the Go Fast Topper. We're gonna do a detailed comparison between these two so you guys can get a better idea of what setup is gonna work best for your rig. All right, since 2017, Go Fast Campers, as their name indicates, have been building campers. This is a V2. They originally started out with the V1, and now, more recently, they've also released the GFC platform topper. We're gonna go around and look at the exterior first and compare the two, and then we're gonna move to the inside. So the biggest difference between the two, most obviously, is that the camper has the wedge tent on top. Basically, it opens up like a traditional wedge style tent would, and then there's removable panels inside so you can get to your sleeping area, not just through the ladder that you can buy, but also through the inside of the bed. It sits a little bit higher in terms of interior volume than the topper does, a little bit above the cab. And then again, looking at the topper here, we can see that it lines up a little bit better with the roof on the cabin. So Kenny does have a rooftop tent on here, but typically this is basically just a camper shell, a truck cap, a topper, whatever you want to call it. The premise is the same. It's a covered bed that gives you weatherproof storage to store all your gear. So let's talk about colors real quick. I decided to go with the white on white. The white does not match perfectly. It's not a color match. It's meant to blend in with all sorts of white colors. White on white is what I decided to go, and even cooler, just because I love this color, Kenny's got the bronze one on here. It looks really good, covered in mud, with the MGM especially. It would look killer if we put some bronze wheels on there. So let's quickly talk about the options. Both of these units give you the option to customize. What I mean by that, outside of colors, that you can add or not add front and rear windows. Both of us have ones that allow us to see all the way from inside the cabin through the camper and the topper, so we have some visibility behind us, but not everybody wants that. Sometimes people opt to not get the windows for security reasons. Besides that, you can see on Kenny's truck over here, he's got some GFC beef bar crossbars, and that's what he's got his rooftop tent mounted to. I also have a set on my truck, but they're not installed. They also offer a couple different light brackets, those step brackets for the ladder that go in right here. And if we come over to the front, this is technically not meant for a light bar like this. This was more so designed for the Baja Designs LP series. I forget exactly which one it was, but anything that fits within the dimensions, like I've got this Light Force light bar up here, they do have these light bar mounts and a handful of other things. They recently released the Turbo Cubby system. It basically bolts into either one of these, gives you additional storage through the doors, windows, whatever these are actually called, and gets you a little bit more organized. So continuing with options, let's move over to the camper. You have a few extra ones, obviously, because you have the tent in there. So they do give you options to upgrade your tent material, color, not necessarily the material, but whether or not you want doors and windows in there. So for an additional fee, you can add those. I have those. We'll look at the interior a little bit more later. I highly recommend that you outfit this fully to your specification, because after you're done ordering, there's no going back unless you get a new panel or you buy a new tent material. So again, from the outside, we wanted to show how the topper sits relative to the cab of the truck. So you can see here that Kenny's got a Prinsu roof rack. With the Prinsu roof rack and the beef bars, it kind of lines up, but the topper itself is almost even with the tallest part of the cab. Maybe it's a little bit taller, but that's a good thing, because you don't want your tents or anything like that to be mounted on the topper and then be too close to the cab of the truck, so when it's flexing, stuff starts to hit on each other. That's one of the reasons why when you have a camper, for the most part, you don't want to run a full-length roof rack, because as the truck bed moves, which it does quite a bit, there's the opportunity that those things could contact. In fact, GFC recommends that you don't put a roof rack on, you don't have one on when you go and get the camper installed. Let's go look at the profile of the GFC. You can see right off the bat that where the topper kind of ends about here, the camper interior is a couple inches at least higher than the topper itself. So when we're looking at this setup here and comparing the two, just know that again, on the topper, you're gonna have a little bit less of internal volume in a vertical sense. So one last thing on the outside before we start opening these bad boys up, we've got the T-track system both on the topper and over here on the camper. Obviously, because the camper has a little bit more thickness here, you get a lot more tracks. They sell proprietary T-nuts. I know a couple other companies also manufacture them. It just makes it super easy to mount your awnings, brackets, whatever kind of gear you have, maybe even a water port, recovery board system, I don't know, right? That's totally up to you, but both of them give you the modularity of being able to easily add accessories because of the T-track and nut system. That should be everything for the outside. If I missed anything, you guys have any questions, obviously always drop them in the comments below. Kenny, let's pop this guy open. We're gonna open up all the window doors and show you guys a little bit more of the inside. So a big focus for GFC is strength and weight. Looking at the inside of both of these, the camper and the topper, you can see that they have this proprietary space frame system. Basically, they have custom extrusions that fit together really, really nicely, really tightly. And then the triangulated space frame is where all the strength comes from this system. Triangles are the strongest shape in nature, from what I know. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, there's nothing stronger than a triangle. You often see them in big construction projects because they bear load really, really well. It's one of the reasons that GFC can put a pickup truck, if you've seen that video, on top of one of these, whereas they put it on a fiberglass option and it got absolutely crushed. We've seen rollover accidents for both the topper and the camper. Usually the camper is in much better condition than the rest of the truck, and I saw a video not too long ago where a Tacoma or a first gen 4Runner or whatever it is had fallen over, rested on the side of the camper. They flipped that thing back over, no damage, checked all the fitment and everything, and it was good to go. So the space frame is one of the biggest, coolest parts of the system. And again, not only do we have this aluminum tubing here, we also have the reinforcements towards the back where we've got the main entrance and door here towards the rear of the truck. So we looked at the exteriors, now we're in Kenny's topper interior. Kenny, tell us a little bit more about what you've got going on here in the bed.
Aside from the space frame that Conrad already mentioned, a GFC makes these billet tie downs to hold the topper down to your truck. They also have these threaded accessory mounts all around the inside of the GFC, so you can put lights, different accessories, whatever you want. You can pretty much load the back of this thing however you want. I went with a single drawer system. You can do different drawer systems. You can have it open, throw a bed back here. Also have some Cali raised bed stiffeners that I had to trim around.
Before we move from the topper over to the camper, let's just take a quick look at the vertical height here. You can notice that especially compared to the camper, there is a few more inches of headroom in there. So if you're hanging out, it might be important to you, but it's not the end of the world. It shouldn't really be a deal breaker, but just know that, again, there's a lot more interior volume inside this camper. So let's run through the interior setup here. We've made videos recently about the 2-Track Nation diesel heater. It's over here on this side of the camper. You can check that out on the channel if you want to know more. We did a dedicated video. And also, we've got the Goose Gear camper system. This is made specifically for the GFC, fits several other camper models as well, but it is tailored to this setup right here. Again, another separate video we did. Check out the channel if you're interested for that. We'll probably drop a bunch of links in the description below, so you'll be able to go directly to those from there. Moving on, the camper and the topper both have a lot of accessory support, but I have a lot more aftermarket stuff. I've got these vernacular sewn storage bags. These are their frame bags that they have. And then moving back onto the inside, we can see the Matte Gecko dual color LED lights. I've got them in the top and bottom, and you can independently control those. On top of that, we've got a bunch of gear back there. I'm missing a few things, but we normally put a shovel and recovery board, and that was a limited run from Backwoods Adventure Mods. We've got their Molly panel. Look how clean that looks. Perfect window cutout. That kind of wraps up everything I've got here. I know you've got some little things like steps to help you get in there. Again, these are the old mounting brackets, so a little bit different now, but that is my interior setup. Let's move into the top so we can see the tent area a little bit better. But before we do, if you could come up right here and look on the inside, these 4 panels, 1, 2, 3, 4, are all removable. Like I was telling you, you can access the tent from a ladder on the side. You can push these panels out, arrange them however you'd like, and then you can either have 2 separate areas, or you can kind of have a communal area between the top and the bottom. So the cool part about the topper is that you can sleep inside of it, you can bring your ground tent, you can stick a rooftop tent on here. Again, Kenny's got the iCamper. You could run any kind of tent up there really, as long as you're clearing whatever's on your roof. So something to be mindful of, if you've got one of those longer wedge style RTTs that has the full footprint, this one folds and it opens in a certain way, so it gives you a lot more room coming out this way. But again, just be mindful, a lot of tent options, but you have to make sure that you are picking the right one that's going to be compatible with your roof rack setup. So Kenny's going to open up the tent. We're going to show you guys that super quick because it's not a GFC product, and then we're going to move over to the tent portion on the camper.
I'm up here in the iCamper on top of the GFC. One of the first things you'll notice is that you sit up a little higher than you would in the camper setup. You get dinged a little bit in your MPGs, but the most you feel it is being off camber on the trails. You feel a little more top heavy. Even though I've been in some situations, never really got to where I felt uncomfortable. Before the GFC, I had a frame bed rack on here where the tent was mounted. When we put this on, I was a little unsure of how high the tent was gonna be. But after being in there and sleeping many nights in this thing, I really like being up that high, away from the elements.
So you guys might be able to tell I have a few other accessories on here now. Before we end the video, I will go through the exterior a little bit more. But now it's time to move on to the sleeping area, the tent portion of the camper, which is, again, the biggest difference between buying the topper or the camper. Let's go inside and I'll show you guys what it looks like in there. And now, we're on the inside. One of the coolest features, the removable floor. So we're inside the interior of the sleeping area. You guys saw me pop through the removable floor portions here. There are 3 of them that make a perfect square. This one has the mattress that lays right on top of it. There is a lip system where all of these panels sit on each other and on the frame of the camper. The cool part is because this is a perfect square, you could take out one or all of them. You can even shift and take this rectangular portion, put it over here, sit on the other side, give yourself a nice little pass through, get a little bit of work done, hang out, have lunch, whatever it might be. Another important feature here, we've got the Tangerine Dream tent material. If you want to stand out, you want a little bit of a pop of color, the tangerine orange color is the way to go. If you want to be a little bit more subtle, it's going to be more of a gray color option. So moving on, I think that one of the most important options, which I highly recommend to everybody, is that you get as many doors, windows, openings as possible. I've got this one right here rolled up. We've also got these little kind of ventilation ones right here. It's super nice to be able to set up camp, sunset, sunrise, whatever it might be, and just see this big panoramic view across the entire area. I super recommend this. I think it's a great upgrade. I've also got the Overland Soft Good fitted flannel sheets. These were a custom collab in a sense with Aeronaut Outdoors and their sleeping bag quilt, the hover quilt, and the color schemes both match. So it gives you a little bit more comfort with the flannel. It's very soft, nice design, has a good feel to it. We've also got an upgraded mattress in there, and I think the last thing that we need to touch on is that we've also got that Mac Echo system inside here. So we've got the dual control red, white LED system. All this stuff is super clutch. I literally let this stuff run all day at camp for even some scene lighting and stuff like that. So that should be it on the inside. A nice big comfortable sleeping area, 50 by 90, perfect for one person, great for 2. Me and my wife have stayed in here with our dog and we've been nothing but comfortable. So that's the inside of the GFC. I love the vertical space right here. It's a little bit more than you'll get in your iCamper over there. Yes, it does taper off over here at the end, but that spot is for your feet. Otherwise, this is the tent, this is the camper. Let's go back to the outside and talk about a few more things. So on a final note, we're back outside. Let's look at a couple final accessories. Now these are aftermarket ones. I've also covered a blog post on this. that will be linked below, the best GFC camper accessories. Here we've got some covers. I will put a link in there. The blog post will have them in there, but not only does this company make them, so does GFC. Again, we'll put a link to those down there in the description. Coming back up here, we have the Shitco, yes, Shitco awning block system that lets you turn really any of your door, windows, openings into an awning. Something cool that I think GFC should incorporate moving forward, especially when they release a new tent or maybe make revisions. It'd be nice to be able to do this on every side for airflow and again, for a little bit of coverage from the rain and stuff like that. We've obviously got the diesel heater right here. Again, separate video, you guys saw that from the inside. And then moving on towards the front, we already talked about the light bar mounts. We've got this JE Design and Fab. I hope I'm getting these company name right, but again, it'll all be linked in the bottom. We've got the drip guards, which if you've ever had a rooftop tent, you've probably noticed that whether it's a camp or a tent, anything that overhangs here, water will pool and pour right into the window. So it's annoying when you got your window open trying to get some fresh air. This system basically catches, collects, and then redirects the rain into the gutter here. On a final note, roof racks, like I was telling you guys, you don't want to have one that runs all the way to the back, especially if you're going to be wheeling it and sending it. They will hit. This is the AL Off-Road, I believe, Wumbo kind of half camper rack made specifically for the GFC. It's got a really nice taper over here. They've got really, really big beefy bars, a nice bracket mounting system, a really solid setup. I've been really happy with it, and the clearance is perfect. One of the final things I want to touch on here, the roof of the tent portion and the roof of the topper, as well as the floor of the camper, they have this honeycomb matrix that's a bit transparent. So if you like full blackout, maybe you put a vinyl wrap or something like that on there to block that light out. But besides that, in the morning, it gives you a nice glow. It's not harsh. Again, the orange tent material also kind of lights up in the morning. So if you're considering sleeping habits and like what kind of light penetration you want to have, and if you don't like it light at all, I would put a vinyl wrap on the top of the honeycomb portion and probably get a darker tent material. So I haven't mentioned it yet, but GFC is 99% made in the USA. There's a couple little things like maybe latches and lights. GFC's always working to come up with better alternatives, but this is American-based manufacturing from start to finish. These guys have a lot of proprietary stuff built into these campers, toppers, their tents, their bed racks, everything. So when you're supporting a company like GFC, just know you're supporting manufacturing back at home. I've had the camper now for a little over 2 years. Ever since I saw the first V1 when GFC came out with them in 2017, I have been madly in love with the setup. It's been the dream setup. I'm more than fortunate now to have experienced the camper and the topper. I absolutely, again, I can't overstate how much I love this thing. It is, to me, the very definition of truck bed camping function. Short term, long term, on grid, off grid. I absolutely have enjoyed every second with the camper. Kenny, any final thoughts on the topper setup?
Yeah, so initially I was never really a topper covered bed guy. I really wanted to retain the functionality of the truck, be able to modulate stuff, take it off and on. But with this, I really have no complaints. It's very modular. You can take the tent off. You can throw the kayaks up on top of there. It's a pretty awesome setup, and I still don't have any accessories to throw in here yet.
I think that's going to be it for today's video. A lot of information here, a lot of stuff to digest. They are two very similar but also very different setups. The camper, like I said, function to the absolute max. The topper, maybe it's a better option for you if you're building in stages or you want the ability to take that tent off when you want to use your truck as, well, more of a truck. So lots of options here. As always, we probably missed something. It's tough to cover absolutely everything, but I think we got through a big chunk of it. Like we said, comments, questions, concerns in the comments. Let us know what you guys think. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things so we can keep putting together great content for you guys. And with that said, camper versus topper, you decide. We'll see you next time.